honored to be Gabrielle Roth's son. And I will never forget the many God sex in the bodies that I was, where she would begin to talk about how the archetypes are in our closet. And when we're missing an archetype, or we are calling upon an archetype, that we dress as that archetype. I think Gabrielle has a few Armani suits herself for occasions like this. To put this presentation into context, this is something that me and Gabrielle collaborated on, but mainly we troubleshooted the Five Rhythms problems. It all falls underneath the umbrella of the 500-year plan. Now, when we think about a 500-year plan, what it is that first comes up is that none of us are going to be here. So it entirely has to be based on the fact that in 50 years, no one on this earth that knew Gabrielle will be alive. And Gabrielle, as we heard in her talk, had a vision that was this work moving through every segment of society. Now, her mandate to me, Jonathan Horan, was to make that happen, and for the Five Rhythms to touch as many people as possible, and to do whatever I had to do to have that happen in a way that takes care of you, the teachers of the Five Rhythms Teachers Association. Now, I'm dressed in a suit today because we're not going to talk about the spiritual practice of the Five Rhythms. We are going to talk about the business, the global business of the Five Rhythms as it moves forward into this world. And mainly, we're putting it in the context of it has nothing to do with anybody in this room or outside of this room. It just has to do with the Five Rhythms moving forward. So with that said, I'd like to get through the presentation, not stop and start with questions. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about it. And if certainly as time moves forward, we're going to talk a lot about it. That could be years, that could be this year, that could be 10 years, that could be 20 years. So, Gabrielle being Gabrielle, very mysterious lady, and she made me swear that I wouldn't talk about this to anybody, ever. And so there was no announcement that this was going to be presented. She wanted very clearly that nobody influence this. And she very clearly wanted to do this herself, realized at a certain point that that wasn't going to happen, and said, this is your spiritual task. So, on that note, here we are at the Five Rhythms Teachers Refresh 2013. As I speak, you have to understand that I'm speaking to people 500 years in the future. Gabrielle died several months ago on October 22nd in the evening. I was there. She blew up a massive hurricane, and we stand just days away from her memorial. My father, her husband of 35 years, is here. Some of the beautiful teachers of the Five Rhythms as it exists today are here. This video and what we do today will be available for Five Rhythms teachers that are in the association on the website, on the back side of the website, where you enter your information and log in. From now till the end of the world, this video will be available for anybody in the association. You'll notice a little box, just like in iTunes, that you click to get into the login. And basically that, it's just like iTunes, that's the terms, it's the terms and conditions, and that you agree to them. And that is just a legal document that says that you're in the brand, that you're going to protect the Five Rhythms work, because it's in your best interest to not give it away. And the brand is what makes you extremely special outside of you being an extraordinary human being. The fact that you can say to someone, I am a Five Rhythms teacher, is a powerful thing unto itself. If you can say to someone, I'm a Five Rhythms teacher and I'm part of the Five Rhythms Teachers Association, that is a very powerful thing that people in the future will really be looking at. They're going to look at that logo that you can get from our brand, and they're going to, worldwide people are going to associate, and they're going to know the difference between not and yes and no. This person's current. This person is active. This person's work counts towards the trainings and everything else that's going to be in here. And I can't really stress to you how, if you're in a tiny little town, it's probably not going to make that much difference. It's certainly for the Five Rhythms as it's moving forward, for the Five Rhythms traveling teacher, and anybody who's climbing up the ladder, teaches heartbeat or cycles or anything beyond that. This is a very powerful part that we need to put energy into to have a clean aesthetic, something that the world looks at and they relate to it, and they relate to the depth of what it took you to get to the place where you could say that we own that we didn't just get stamped out. We worked hard to become that teacher, and we give back in the Teachers Association to get a lot in return. So, okay. Good. Teaching is a lifelong commitment to being a student. This is what Gabrielle never wants us to forget. Like if you have to be on the headliner to be a part of something, what Gabrielle really wants, always has wanted, and I'm sure you've heard, is that we take each other's classes, that we take each other's workshops. And as I was opening up to you about overworking myself and that leading to behavior that wasn't healthy, I should have been taking more workshops myself. When my mom was sick, I always took my mom's workshop. So just a reminder of the difference in our work is that we are always a student, and we can learn from any level, from the people who just are being trained to the people who have been here forever. All right. This was one of her most powerful statements in the midst of our work on the vision. Imagination is powerful. Imagination is healing. All you need is the courage to visualize what should be, and then give yourself to its creation. The result may not be what you expected, but it will be right. Gabrielle never in a million years thought that I or her would ever be giving this presentation. Talking about brand and brand guidelines and the business of the 5 rhythms. And how it is that we might create a structure that ensures that it doesn't divide up and disappear and get washed down. So, next. So this is really, as she saw it, Gabrielle's 500-year plan. And it has very little input from anyone else. That plan is the elimination of the things that don't work. It's the expansion of what does work and the creation of how it is that we are going to move into the future and what our legacy, her legacy, our legacy as it's laid out, what we create, what we leave behind. Okay? So, it was very upsetting for Gabrielle that there was so much tension between old and new teachers and so much competition and fear around. She wanted a team of mutually respecting adults that saw the beauty in the difference in each one of us. And that if someone were to empower themselves to be that different person, they would attract their students. Loss of students to other ecstatic dance practices is like a virus now. It's like a virus now. So we had to really look at it. And Gabrielle's been looking at this since day one. She wasn't. There was no other dancing practices. And then there were 2. And then there were 5. And then now there's thousands. So we're going to look at that. Difficult entry barrier for the teaching path. Now, if you've ever been standing in your class and had this amazingly beautiful student come up like, I found my work. This is so amazing. I want to be a teacher. And they're like, this is my first class. And you go, oh. And you think to yourself, wow. Okay, let me wrap my head around that. Okay, there's 500 hours of this, and you have to be in it for 3 years, and you have to do 16 workshops, and it costs thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And they walk away. And they never come back. They walk away and they never come back because they don't want to do all that. They haven't been enrolled in the conversation enough to want to do that. They can't see it. It seems impossible. You know, it seems impossible. And it's going to seem even more impossible without someone like Gabrielle out there and her incredible embodiment of this work. So we're going to talk about that. Public confusion about curriculum. Now this is all like kind of website stuff and how it is that we have to find ways of always saying the same thing so it's clear. Lack of universal brand guidelines and prerequisites. So we haven't had a lot of brand guidelines. You know, we grew up in an age of total freedom, like, and it rocked. You know, it was beautiful, but we didn't have a structure that set us up for great success unless we were just cults of personality. And this really looks at how it is that the brand can help everyone. Everyone. Consolidation of power. Now, this is what scared me and Gabrielle, especially Gabrielle, most. And where my huge learning has come in the wake of her death. What happens when a big piece disappears suddenly? And is there a plan in place for the future for those who exist? Because if there's not a plan in place for the future, chaos ensues. Chaos ensues, and every one of us is not going to be here in the future. So that's an interesting piece. Lack of reporting and global archives for teachers and producers. Lack of reporting. We have to find, well, we have a way now. We have several ways of working in collaboration with each other so that if Alan Allard gets hit by a car and one of his students calls up, and says, I want to be in the training, and I did a lot of work with Alan Allard. Oh, I'm sorry, Alan Allard's dead. We don't have any of his records. What does that person do? And what do we do? Just kind of take it that this is true? So we have an answer to that. Okay, next. Global expansion of official moving center schools. This is definitely going to happen. The Five Rhythms world, like the need for like a center in Europe is so utterly needed to have some leadership there. It can't all be in California, and it's going to grow too big for any of that anyway. We're just outgrowing it. Certified advanced teachers. Now this is really exciting for you. How it is that you become specialized, that you begin to develop these special groups that you work with, and then you pass that on to your legacy. And you open up the door for the Five Rhythms to go into many other places that right now it's just not in. To me, that's quite empowering. Five Rhythms Global faculty. Got to have some leadership around the world as we move forward. What happens if I died today? Oh my God. If Kathy and Lori died today, whole shitstorm. Pardon my language. Five Rhythms Teacher Association. Now this is going to grow, and that means that it's going to have a lot more resources. As more people join, there's a lot more resources, a lot more things that can happen, and we have laid out the major ones. Five Rhythms Reach Out programs. This is also going to go hand in hand with these certified advanced teachers. Exclusive Five Rhythms branded products. More books. More music. A t-shirt of our founder. Little things. Next. Creation of brand guidelines and consistent public message. And we have our web designer and the person who really helped to develop the brand guidelines coming in on Monday to really speak to you and to be really clear. He really collaborated with Gabrielle, deeply on this stuff. And so, it'll be wonderful for him to because, all the conversations about these things he had with her. A lot of it I didn't have any part of. But this is what you wanted. Central office that works for all Five Rhythms certified teachers. That's having people work for you. That's having people promote your workshops. That's having people cover your ass when someone tries to sue you. Or I don't know. There's so many possibilities there. Advanced teacher training concentrations. This is the thing that Andrea is most excited about because it gives her work. She's really a front runner for what is going to be, the biggest part of the next generation because she's been doing research on a very clear line, a concentration. And she's overly excited about it and told me, please tell them that I absolutely endorse this. So, so her concentration obviously is therapy. And how do we work in the therapeutic world? How does the 5 rhythms work hand in hand in helping people in the midst of their therapy? And she is good. So we're going to be looking to her to what that might look like, because she's ahead of us in that way. And I have total trust and faith that she's going to take care of, she's done a lot of research, obviously, about what works and doesn't work, and she's moving forward. And I'm right behind her in that. Mentorship program for Sweat Your Prayers apprentices. This speaks very clearly to that hard barrier getting into the 5 rhythms world. Now don't get scared, because this is all about you. You're in control of that, which I'm sure you like control. There's not going to be any giant, trained 1,000 people to do Sweat Your Prayers. Not the way it's going to happen. 5 Rhythms Teachers Association Ethics Council. We step on each other's toes and we make mistakes. And this is all about confidentiality. Yeah, so there's not going to be any witch burnings, Nobody's going to be publicly humiliated, but there's going to be people that are going to be there to talk and have a sense of what's right and wrong, and can say, hey, draw the boundary. 5 Rhythms Producers Association, very excited. The 5 Rhythms Producers Association will get all of the producers on the same wavelength and talking with each other, so that it's not like everybody has their little secret thing. It's just set. Everybody, they are able to come in and be educated, and learn. And as a teacher, as you go up the totem pole and you have this person and this person fighting from this region to have you, so it's going to help with that, and how it is that we decide who we want to work with. And in the future, that's going to be really important, because if we leave it messy, it's going to get messier, and there's going to be all these squabbles for power that Gabrielle has no interest in this work. And neither do I. So, goodness gracious. It's a lot, right? But I encouraged my mother 12 years ago to start thinking about 500 years, which is, how is this going to manage itself without, the Gabrielle groupies, without the Kathy groupies, without, the interest is the 5 rhythms, not who does them, or who we think should do. The whole thing is about the preservation of the 5 rhythms, because teachers come and go. And did we not just get the big message? But the 5 rhythms is going to continue, and if it's organized, then it will move into the future in beauty, in light, in harmony. If it's unorganized, it's going to get ugly. So, that's what I just said. It's daddy time. Okay, so take a quick look at this. You can see that there's a lot of places there. Now you notice that there's no names on any of these places, because these people haven't even been born yet. But they're going to be running these things. They're going to be running trainings. They haven't even been born yet. So go to the next one. All right, 5 Rhythms Global. So Five Rhythms Global is a corporation already been created that basically speaks to the dispersal of power. So that if any one part falls apart, or disappears, or goes rogue, that the Five Rhythms continues. It also controls all of the intellectual property of Gabrielle, now mine, the products and the archives of the teachings, so that nobody can just go, oh, I don't like this, and just hang on to it and start a fight. It's bigger than that. We have to invest in there being people who will be in service, and those people, by the way, are you. You're going to be hired by yourselves. But there will also be several people in the Five Rhythms Global that are not in the practice. They're in the business, and in the business of keeping it going no matter what, which is a very important part, because people are people. 5RTA! Hana, we worship you. And Hana has made a good start for us. But if you add on another 300 teachers, Hana's not going to be able to do it. Hana needs help. Hana needs to be paid more. Hana needs support. Hana told us quite clearly that 90%, I think she said, of what she does is facilitate and try and diffuse territorial issues. 90%, people. So that's a lot of time on not the pretty part of the Five Rhythms. So we need good people in there that can really facilitate quickly and actually get things done, you know. Teacher conflict resolution, you know. You could be an expert. You could give a, I would want it, Hana to train people in what she's learned, The Ethics Council fits under here, which is made up of
us.
You. Brand guidelines. So if you're just all rogue out there, and for one reason or another you're flaky, or you just are rebellious or whatever, there's someone there that says, hey, or you can't figure it out. I'm not good with computers. I can't make my flyer, or they can't understand to a certain extent, like what it means. Then the 5RA is in charge of helping you out. Refreshes. These are really important because I remember when I was growing up, lyrical, there were balloons and balls. There were balloons and balls, people. So and if you think that this is the end of the evolution, absolutely not. The more people that are practicing on a consistent basis, this practice will continue to evolve, to change, to transform, to be, to just deepen in people's bodies. I dance with teenagers now that have been dancing with me since they were little kids, and they're incredible. They're gonna be something way beyond me, having grown up in these rooms, because they're growing up in a much more clear, grounded, focused atmosphere. So the Moving Center schools, in your lifetime, you're definitely going to see them. And job openings. So, you're not a moving center school, you're a moving center school, Switzerland, England, Australia, Training and certification. They got to continue. And I'm not going to be allowed to do it. That means you got to do it. You need to be trained to train. The waves training leads to, and this is kind of a brand guidelines thing, certification as 5 Rhythms teacher with name. So we have to eliminate, I'm the 5 Rhythms Costa Rica. Nobody's the 5 Rhythms Costa Rica. Maybe there's a school, 5 Rhythms School, Moving Center School of Costa Rica, but there can't be, we have to take this out and stand on our own 2 feet and say, I'm a certified 5 Rhythms, Jonathan Horan, with Jonathan Horan. Because in the future, it's already, if you Google this stuff, I mean, it's so confusing. And you just don't know. Nobody has the right to those things. We have to protect ourselves against, and it's all innocent. And I'm not blaming anybody at all. We've grown up in an innocent world, but it won't work for the future. So, now you'll notice this line that goes over to the 5RTA. And that's very much speaks to the fact that if you're in the 5 Rhythms Teachers Association, you are special. You have power. You have the brand that pushing behind you, which means you count for the training, which, it's the most sad thing in my world, unfortunately. But, because I teach the, God, Sex, and the Body, and I teach cycles and mirrors, I have to deal with a lot of people trying to rush to get to the teacher training, and I came from the age of innocence where none of that existed, and it's so foreign to me to go to 5 workshops in a row, 5-day workshops in a row. I had a beautiful woman break down mentally this summer in mirrors, and it was too much, too quick. But at the same time, that's the world we live in. The people have the money. Unless we're quite clear on setting boundaries for people, like you've had enough, then it's all about the training.
Mentorship program.
Aha. So, what a beautiful. Did everybody have a good experience with the mentoring the new teachers? Is there anybody that had a horrible experience? You?
I will not experience mentoring someone, and that was as much me as it was them.
Right. Okay. So anyway, the 5 Rhythms is organically built to be cyclical and reciprocal. So, as I was speaking earlier about how we engage older students to engage younger students and start to take the burden off of you of having to hold all that stuff and empowering them, this is the way of the future. Mentorship. I'd like to see a way for you to get paid to do that. That's a personal note. Okay? What's next?
Advanced teaching.
Under training and business.
Aha. Right. So these are our concentrations. Well, it's a lot of things. Go to the next one. Okay, keep clicking. All right. So advanced teacher training. We go heartbeat cycles and eventually everything. We make it cohesive through the schools. And then the concentration is where we become specialists. We're working in prisons. And then people start to work with us to learn how to work in prisons. Can you see how you just got a new job? Elders, children, therapy. There's no end to the possibility here. All we have to do is be willing to commit to something that we are genuinely interested in. I'm genuinely interested in working with children. I already work with children. I've already done a lot of research. I have a pilot program that could go into any school at this moment. And in my school, that will be a concentration. Working with kids, working in schools. In Andrea's, it'll be different therapeutic aspects. Where do we go next?
Certification.
Right, so this is a definite change. You get trained here, you work, but then immediately or even beforehand, you're looking at your line. You're looking at your concentration. So you can work with anybody, but you also want to specialize in working with pregnant women. You also want to specialize in working with elders, or disabled people, or deaf people. The possibilities are endless. So you have to do this before you can move to this. So that you're really getting your chops. You're getting more chops to stand here and really rock this and the rest of the mats. Now, this brings up all kinds of thoughts. But as I have seen the world, basically, people come up, they're all excited about being a teacher, and then they're overwhelmed and they turn around and they leave. And we get maybe 5% of the people that come in that actually make it or are interested in making it, because they never even get into the conversation of what we consider the meat and potatoes, the fertile ground of the work. So instead they go to a weekend training where someone goes cha-ching and they bring that to their town. And that means we lost our seating moment to a place that you could be working in, that they would be bringing you in to work. Because everybody pretty much in the dance world considers the 5 rhythms to be the most powerful medicine wheel that's out there. And they want it. We just make it so hard, and they're like, So, you're in Kansas, You've been asked to go to Kansas. You've been asked to go to the frontier. This is how this will start. None of these are going to be happening in London. These people are not going to start popping up in London. They're popping up in Africa and the places that you go where, have you ever been faced by the situation where either a dance community pops up and you want to find a way in, or you go and teach a workshop and they get all excited and all these people are like all excited about the 5 rhythms and they say, well, how are we going to practice? And you go, you can't. You know what this means? That's me digging my own grave. Because no one's going to wait around. So we enroll them, the teacher, enrolls them in the possibility. And these people come in teams because they're so green that they have to come in twos, and we have to set it up that way so that like if one of them, says, oh, well, I'm just going to take a couple weeks off, we don't have the other one covers. And preferably I'd like to see one be the business mind and one be the real kind of dancer, but if you can find a couple that are both, hey. So we have to be quite mindful and really look and see who it is that we're choosing to seed. And they're obligated to work with us and to bring us in, on a, let's say 3 times a year, 4 times a year, as many times the community can handle. You have another place to work. They have a place to dance while you're not there and practice what you give them. We lose a lot by not having that. And this never going to be launched until it's ready. And to me, that means just having some test groups out there and basically picking sure things. You pick people that are trustworthy, that basically are already doing this. They're looking at the training, but it's seemingly a long way away from them. But now it's a lot closer because they have an investment in the conversation. They're learning about this, and then these guys go to the producer.
It's not up there yet.
It's not up there yet. Okay, well, we won't get to that, but they end up going to the producer because they're producing you, and pretty quickly they're learning a lot about the Five Rhythms world and what works. They're not getting it from just anybody. They're getting it from people who know what they're talking about and can answer the whys. Why do I do it this way? Because they can't see the future. They're all just excited bliss bunnies or wounded soldiers who want to dance and see that this is healing. So, you know, it's like when you show up at the training, there's so much to absorb. You start this process earlier, much earlier. And they're learning how to hold space, and they're doing it with integrity under your mentorship, which they're paying you for. Did I just say that? That's another job you just got. Oh my God. So that takes us back. Then they become teachers. And you have the producer's training, which brings everybody online. And there's some standards. There's some standards. You're a beginning producer, you know, your cut is less. You're really experienced, your cut is a lot more. Because as it is today, you have to train these people. And that takes a lot of time. I mean, just like organizing a workshop as a producer. How do I get there? What do I wear? Can you tell me again what it's going to be about? And oh my God. So these guys are going to have an association as well. That's kind of presides over them, just as the 5RTA presides over us, and they have help. And there's a communication network that everyone's in, which helps the greater good. So all of this is coming out of and going back to the Five Rhythms Global, which is really a kind of our insurance policy. And it's ensuring that it's not about the teacher, it's about the Five Rhythms is what it really is. And it's protecting the brand guidelines, and it's kind of my mother used to call it the moving center centrum. Because we had different moving center schools, but the center was her. Now, Five Rhythms Global, to a certain extent, is representation of Gabrielle, her job, all that she did for us. Like, she presided over this world, and she did her very best to keep harmony under many different circumstances. And so how to fund this is interesting. Anything in the Five Rhythms world that says training, money goes back to the center for the people that have been hired from the greater Five Rhythms world and the people that haven't. And this was what I fought with her about a lot, because I thought I was inheriting her cut. You know, hey, I get to step in and I get your cut. Not a chance. As of now, I'm the global executive director, and I get it's blanking me. I get a
Percentage.
salary. I get a salary. So there goes that idea. I mean, very humbling, really, very humbling. And like this whole process was very humbling because, you know, I kept wanting to think of now. now me, like what's happening now and me and what's going to happen to me. And I just had to continually with Gabrielle go, this is not about you. This is about you setting up the 5 rhythms to serve, be in service to making it happen and keeping the integrity of the whole as we become more and more global and as we become as we dance on the precipice of being mainstream, you know. And it may not happen for 10 years. It's certainly going to happen. You know, it's certainly going to happen. All right. So there's the 5 RRO. And, you know, we really see that in alignment with the concentrations, these advanced trainings, and how it is that that money that we raise, and my mother was so thankful, and you know, I can genuinely say you guys raised some beautiful funds after she died in your benefits, and you know, we need some major donor to come in and you know give millions and millions of dollars, and that will really set us free to have these concentrations really working into society. As I said earlier, you know, I'm still learning about the nonprofit world, and we are working with the Montefiore Hospital and the School of Albert Einstein Medical School, and they're loving it, and they're documenting. They are documenting this work. We will be the first dance practice that is formally documented on what are the benefits, what happens when, you know, how does this change and affect human beings that are in it once a week, 10 times a week, you know, that go to workshops. So, and I recently did the first installment, which was working with their interns, and they, you know, they're documenting it. So they give them a sheet before they walk in, and they give them a sheet after they walk in, and they have all these questions. One of the questions was, what is your stress level coming in? And almost every one of them put 10 down, 1 to 10. Every one of them put 0 down as they left. And this is the same research facility that did the Alzheimer's research. That free dancing is the best thing to not get Alzheimer's. Something in the brain that is happening in having to coordinate one's body and be creative and imaginative that keeps that part alive. Yeah?
Yay.
Raven! Robbie! So Raven stays alive, and you know, we continue to reach people all over the world via the music. Oh, how did you come into the 5 rhythms? Oh, I listened to the music, and then I heard that there was something else connected to it. Oh, and I got the book, and then I found myself here in this class. Right, next. So, and this can really help these poor people who are not great DJs probably, and also starts them off in the depths of the practice, not the big DJ thing, but there gives possibilities for these young learning people how to be grounded in this, because it's easy to think, wow, this could be pretty ungrounded. These people aren't going to get a deep, long training. So, but that's why the mentorship is so key. So now, as we go into questions, I don't think we have a lot of time, and you guys look pretty tired anyway. But what Gabrielle is interested in, and what we should all be interested in as we think of questions is not what's happening now, but what will happen in the future. Like the questions can come from there. So it's not about us right now. It's about what we're going to leave.
Can you put the chart back up?
Sure. Can we go to the big chart? There it is. So, you know, I'd love to see a feng shui master go to work on this thing.
Johnny, did she visualize the moving center schools as actual buildings or sort of more communities?
She was hoping for buildings, spaces, like consistency.
Yeah.
But, you know, if that's not possible, but really, you know, technically to be a school, you should have a space, you know. Yes, my love.
I have a question that's very specific to Fiber and Reach Out, which is that because nonprofit have such strict ways to work, it looked like it wasn't going to be easy to get something that works across borders. And specifically, like for the Fiber and Reach Out nonprofit that is American, to fund work for example, for me, that I'm, French, financially or was.
That's a great question.
I can answer that, or I attempt to answer it. Fiber and Reach Out, in my understanding, can spend money anywhere. The difference is when somebody makes a contribution in America, it's deducted from their taxes. If someone from France makes a contribution, I don't think it's deducted.
Well,
and it's the deductibility that makes the contribution very attractive to people.
But my question behind that was.
If that's the case, then we should have these all over the place.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I will ask the right people.
Yeah.
I personally think that we can fund things around the world. Or Gabrielle wouldn't have set it up because we were already global.
Amelia is working on this problem.
My question is really about the branding. For example, there's no certified teacher of the 5 rhythms in Brazil, but there are people that say that they are 5 rhythms teachers.
That's why we signed that agreement, or don't sign, we check the box or whatever, so to protect us, so that they can't get that art trade. Like they can't pull that stuff off the site. They can't pull those writings off of the site. You know what I mean? And that will help to keep us a bit more private and keep us being a bit more special. That's always going to happen.
And that information needs to go back to the office. So if you in your community become aware that somebody is using it, because you can do a screenshot and copy and paste anything you want, 5 rhythms with the trademark, the logo, the brand. But that's why there are some legal letters that can be.
90% of my work in the movie center is dealing with these wannabes.
Yeah.
Brazil is nothing. I've got Poland and China and Japan, and you have no idea how many wannabes people are trying to steal this stuff all over the planet. No
So please, if you come across it,
send it in.
send it to Robert.
So we with Robert still have a lawyer that's a pit bull and has really protected us, but the 5 Rhythms Global is going to have that too. And this is the conversation. You know, people get all fired up about giving the 5RTA money, but you know, if you're going to really have protection and insurance in the future, then we give back. The trainings give back. I had one other idea, because I myself am really touchy about money. You know, I don't want somebody from fucking corporation coming in and taking my money. Although I want to honestly tell you that since I began teaching, I have always been giving a percentage back to the moving center. And Kathy and Andrea, we've always been doing that because we knew that we needed, you know, to be able to call Robert. We understood how much Gabrielle really did day in and day out to keep this thing going. My idea is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If every teacher just charged in your workshop, if you just charge $20 more, you have not lost anything. You know, and $20, if that makes or breaks somebody, you know, that's 3 lattes here in New York. So if we just add a little bit, not a lot, if we just add a little bit, that's a possibility. That may never happen in our lifetime. It's going to happen at some point because people will see the value.
Johnny, did she also see, or do you see, the website, regional sites, as being offshoots of the...
Well, that's the brand.
Okay.
Like, wait till Doc comes in here, because
Okay, that's fine. Sorry.
he's going to talk about the branding, and like in the branding, like we are individual, but we have a lot of things that are the same, so that people they get to know the real 5 Rhythms, and we keep sending that message out. And of course, because Gabrielle created it and chose colors and whatever, it's fucking good. Great.
So I
Woman